All right. It is a little bit late, but that's fine. Looks like Kazoo Dude is in a 1v3 right now. Gets one, but Furry is there on the window. Gets the pick. Missed 3 rounds there. Wow. A lot of high-level players in here. Probably the most I've seen in 3rd Prestige. BLC is losing right now, which is interesting. But we'll see how this goes. I mean, one side isn't enough to tell if a team is bad at a map. Because who knows, perhaps BLC is better on defense. Does look like... Oh, I need to get these names on here. Excuse the name. Or BLC. Sorry about that. In that time, we've had 2 deaths on the side of BLC. The outward extension definitely putting in work. 2 more go down, and now it's just Hunter. Nade goes out. No flashbang. Sorry. Hunter doesn't get the kill, but it's still a 1v4. This is going to be really hard to fight. Holding a pixel on him, but... Oh, Ensign goes out, allows Froggies to get him. ENCORE seems to be taking this pretty quickly so far. Surprised, actually. I've seen BLC play pretty well, I'm pretty sure. It does look like they will be playing aggressive again. No, perhaps it's just utility. Okay, no. Sorry about that. Confused myself for a second about streaming software. Ignore me. Yes, it does look like they will be playing very aggro once again. One by stairs and several by site door. We'll see how BLC fights this. It does look like they have a drone going in, but shot down really early. Not going to be the most helpful for them. Luckily, they do have players on both sides. Hunter does take out Froggies, and that's early pick for BLC. This could be very good. However, are they going to be ready for the player on stairs? Yes, they're pinging them out, but oh, good nade pushes him back. Flashbang goes out, catches him out on the stairs flank as well. This is very good for BLC. They're a player up right now. And there's only one more roam. Everyone else is playing on site. This is a perfect chance for BLC to take space and get foam on both these walls. Unfortunate wallbang there. Perfect timing from Danny, and even better timing from TK Sal. That roam coming in at the perfect time, and Raisin does take him out. However, the damage is done. Kazoo almost takes out the player on the door. However, he's a little bit late. Wall is now blown. Ensign going out trying to stop the push. However, it is a 2v2. Closest I've seen so far. Just waiting for utility to die out, and then I think BLC will get their push together. However, Good cross angle from ENCORE here. One's holding wall, and the other is easily able to watch stairs wall. Taking out door blocker. Will they be ready for the player behind bomb? Pleber takes out one. Raisin gets the 2K, clutching the round. Pleber just swung a little bit too aggressively there, and Raisin was able to take advantage of that. And now that's BLC's first round. They're not completely out of this game. They still have a chance to take 6 rounds in a row. It does look like ENCORE will be getting ready for a split push. 2 going stairs, 2 going records, maybe trying to pinch out the player here in records, with 1 also pushing down the other stairs outside. They now know someone's in records, and this is a perfect opportunity, but Raisin does seem ready. But Froggies gets the kill. Does seem they're ready, but Flicker does get the pick. Now it's now the flank is flanking the flank. Flankception over here. Kazudu takes out Pleber, and that's both walls blown. However, they do have to be careful for that roam. However, he's the last one alive, and Downey gets the 2K, leaving the roam, and Furry gets the last pick. Amazing push there from ENCORE. They were able to get both walls open in a really quick succession, and they were able to really easily take space before BLC was able to react. An interesting proxy placement. Haven't seen this before, although granted I haven't seen very many VRML matches or scrims on Maul, so I'm bound to be impressed by many of these plays. Just like this one down here, they were able to take advantage of these stairs here and get into, I don't know what this is called, storage, and then storage 2. I'm not sure about these. However, it does look like a full upper arcade push. Flicker does get a pick, however, the drone does see him. Flicker takes out the drone, and hopefully he's calling out to his teammates that, hey, there's a lot of players on me. We need backup. Util going out. Flicker is flashed, but they're taking space really fast, and TK Sao gets 2 of them. And now they only have 1 on site. Are they ready for the 2 players in arcade? Raisin Lamb gets 1. Hunter gets another. TK is now all that's left. 1v1 right now. Raisin gets 1. Is he ready for the second? And Kazoo Dude on the flank there from site gets the last pick. That's a second round for BLC. They're not completely out of this game yet. Maybe they have enough econ to come back the next 5 rounds, because that is what they need to bring it to OT and then win OT. It does look like they will be bringing in 3 rifles and 2 SMGs, opting to get a little bit more utility instead of that second. Oh no, they sold the Marui. That's an interesting choice. Instead of letting Kazoo Dude buy all the utility, they sold the Marui for an Omen and more utility. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite them. Does look like BLC isn't playing too aggro, only having one roam, and I think ENCORE is able to take advantage of that. An interesting lean peak coming out from here, hanging on the play area. However, I don't see it very often, getting any picks, even in pubs. Oh, just swinging in here. Hunter is able to take advantage of that. And that's a Vezin into Hunter's hands that he didn't have before. Maybe it was the right call to get rid of the Marui. That's going to be unfortunate for ENCORE, though. Oh, the Hunter just peeks out a little bit too much, and now that's the Vezin down again. Very interesting spot. Oh, but Flicker just goes out a little bit too late. And now the roam is an interesting lean peek there from Ben. I haven't really seen that before. However, Furry is just running in. That's too dead. He's probably calling out to his teammates that he has sight. And now Pleber gets the last kill on Kazoo Dude. A 7-2. ENCORE had really good teamwork there. Especially on that push here on this bottom floor when they were on offense. A very well executed play, taking advantage of all the stairs here to get both walls open relatively quickly and with relatively few deaths. Oh, I should probably update OBS. Mall. 7-2. No. 7-2. ENCORE. There we go. That should be fixed. Final scores before we get into the next match. However, they do seem to be down 2 players, BLC does. Seem to have lost some people. Interesting. They do seem to be swapping some players as well. Perhaps just waiting for players to swap teams. To our second map, Skyscraper. They're playing all the maps that you don't usually see in VRML matches. I mean, I think recently I've only seen a few Skyscraper maps, and Mall is like non-existent, so maybe they're just putting in some good practice for when it does come time to be matches. Does look like BLC is getting a few more players in. Just one more needed. And then we can get right into the next map. Why not that? It does look like we're getting in, and BLC is on the offense. Ooh. Okay, there we go. I'm going to do Control C, Control V, BLC. There we go. Hopefully that's correct. Looks right. BLC on the offense. Top floor. Looks like it's broadcast, and I forgot the name of this room. Right next to radio. Does look like they will be going radio, windows, stairs, and then also lounge. Interesting choice. No, wait, that's not very interesting. I don't know, I'm sorry. It's been too long since I played Skyscraper. Very aggressive hold on radio right now. One player in hallway. Just have to be careful for that stairs push. And another one just sitting here. Danny Freshman playing very aggressively in radio. Is he going to be ready for being pinched along with his teammate in hallway? Not exposing himself too much. However, that does reveal his position. Players on BLC are pushing up in this hallway. However, they're a little bit slowed down by the static field emitter, and they don't want to get caught out, especially since they have two players in hallway here. However, they are pushing in. Flicker does manage to get the player in radio, and now the players in hallway are going to push up. However, BLC are not slowing down. Two players in hallway. Hunter gets one. Player gets the refrag. Players swing out from sight, and that is all the BLC players did. ENCORE was able to be very patient there and wait until BLC had overextended just a little bit. They weren't quite ready for both players in hallway, and that allowed ENCORE to take advantage of the little bit of chaos as the player with EMP died at radio door. I'm pretty sure he had EMP. Not quite sure. However, it is top floor again, but opposite sides, so we'll see how they decide to push this, whether it be lounge windows or B site. Does look like it will be a stairs push. Luckily, not all of them are going stairs, at least. I've seen that happen once or twice, and it's failed once or twice. Drone going in, trying to find the defense. However, there is a roam over here on the opposite side, so we'll see how they try to counteract that. Drone going in, revealing position. However, their players aren't able to act on that information. The flank clear isn't going too well. They're not quite sure where they are, so it might not work out too well for BLC. However, Raisin Lamb is here on the window, just waiting for the call to swing through the window, trying to get the players in hallway. Froggy here in hall now knows there's a player, but Flicker is able to get the pick. Raisin is swinging in now. Will they be ready for this swing? Raisin Lamp gets taken down, but is refragged. And there's a new player in hallway now. Flicker goes down. And it's a very aggressive hold here on lounge. Furry jumps out, gets a pick, and now they need to be ready for the flank on stairs. Does look like Ruby does decide to run out, and now it's a 1v3. Furry gets the pick, and that ends round 2 for Encore. Little bit of TK coming out there. Encore seems very confident right now, and they have been putting in work. I mean, 2 players with 0 deaths. That's not bad. And they're able to get away with very aggressive defensive plays here. And BLC needs to do something about that. Whether it be engage in more 2v1s or try and use flashbangs, grenades to try to get as many picks before swinging. And this is especially true on this bottom floor site, especially given the fact that it's very hard to take space on this floor, because usually you have a person holding in hallway, you have 1 or 2 rooms upstairs, and usually a person extending out here. However, they have 3 players in bathroom, 2 players in bathroom, and 1 in bathroom hall, but a very aggressive defense. It may not even pay off, because it does look like they are avoiding B site and instead going for an A site push. Several players are already in the building, and we'll see if they're ready for the player downstairs. Brax does see him and gets the pick onto Pleber, and that should tell the defense that, hey, they might be doing an A push, but are they ready for the 2 other players? Froggies gets the kill on Raisin, and now they have a prime opportunity to double swing Brax down there for swinging up. Almost sees him, does, but not quite any kill. Ruby takes a lot of damage, and now it's a 4v4, but BLC does not have the health economy to easily win any gunfights. Flicker upstairs does get the pick. Froggy gets a trade off Brax. However, they may not be ready for the second roam. Hopefully they realize it. Flash goes out. Flicker gets Froggy. Hunter gets Jimmy. And now it's a 3v1. Quite the turn of events here. Now it's up to Danny. That's 1. That's 2. Not ready for him to be in sight. And that's the first round for BLC. Third round. And they were able to do it with a little bit less economy used than Encore. So Encore is going to be a little bit hurt by this. Granted, 2 can still buy rifles, but they might have to do a little bit of saving if all of their players want to buy next round. BLC, however, are going to be buying 4 Vezins and a Viper with a lot of utility, and I think they need to buy utility, because as we saw last round, they were able to use flashbangs on the roamer and get the pick very easily. So they need to be taking advantage of that flashbang buff and the not so new Ensign buff of dealing more damage to block off a few more entryways or hallways, like a roam upstairs if it were this floor, or maybe hallway here. However, they are joining in. They see 1 in bathroom, but they may not know there's 2. They also need to be careful of those trips, because it wasn't pointed out by the drone. Several players going in here vending, with 1 going lobby and 1 on a lean peak repelled. An interesting hold I've never seen before. Raisin's trying to get a pick on any feet that peek out, getting a little bit too aggressive, but no one is. Hunter is here on the door, ready to pinch bathroom with his teammate on window. However, they're not sure how many players are in there. if they were paying attention, they should guess 2. However, Furry does get 1, but Raisin is able to refrag. Ensign stops a refrag on Froggies, though, and he rotates back to site only at half health. That's slightly unfortunate for BLC, because now they're down a player. However, they do not have bathroom control, and this should help, especially since they have a roam here on the other site. And he's moving very slowly. So hopefully this pays off. Oh, wrong button, sorry. Danny does get the roam, and now it's all up to the players in bathroom. However, Raisin Lamp goes down, and now it's up to Brax. Flashbang going out, doesn't quite get anyone. Roam on hallway. However, Jimmy from the backside manages to get Brax. Good round there from ENCORE. They were able to take great advantage of playing very aggro in bathroom in the beginning until they got a pick, and then they were able to rotate off with player advantage. And then after getting the roam that was on A site, it was basically round win for ENCORE there. Now we're back to radio and broadcast sites, and we'll see if they decide to play very aggro in radio again, or if they decide to hold a more server-oriented defense. Usually you do see at least one person in red room or server, or near server door to hallway. However, it doesn't appear that they do, and Flicker may be able to take advantage of this and get a very easy foothold into servers. However, it does look like ENCORE will have a roam on stairs and a server hold. Very aggro in radio once again. However, only one person actually pushing A site. So, and he's going to rotate off very quietly. And it does look like it will be a full B push. However, Flipper may be caught out on the player on server door. However, I think he hears him. Likely calling out to his teammates that, hey, I heard like 4 drops over there in server, but Flipper and Danny both get picks. And now it's a 3v5 here for BLC. Both playing close. Furry gets a pick. Jimmy as well. Now last guy's on stairs. And a teammates there from ENCORE. Froggy was able to catch Raisin by surprise by swinging from the boxes. And that's 4-1 for ENCORE. BLC is going to need to do very well on defense if they want to pull back this match, or at least one more round on offense if they want to be comfortable in the defense-sided half. We will see a lot of util coming out on the side of BLC. However, they don't seem to be making quite as much use of it. I don't see many flashbangs. I only really see nades. No, Brax did sell for flashbang. However, ENCORE does have full rifle with a lot of utility as well. So we'll see how this goes for BLC. It does look like it will be a stair push from maybe top floor. No, it does look like they will be rotating to windows. Double drone in play. And it does look like they will be trying to check for an upstairs roam first, because that did catch out some of their players last time. Hopefully they hear the footsteps. No, the drone catches him out. Flicker gets Furry. He's not quite ready for that player upstairs. And that's a starting pick for BLC. And they need to take advantage of this. However, they don't want to play too fast, because place like that by Pleber will be able to catch him out. And they need to be careful of this roam. It could catch out Flicker. Froggies gets Flicker. Are they ready for the roam? Flashbang doesn't quite catch out, and Froggies gets 2 more. And now it's a 1v3. Hunter does get 1. Now he has to be careful for the roam and the player on wall. However, EMP is outside by doorway. That's 1 more dead. Now it's just a 1v1. But Froggy gets the kill. That's 5-1 first half. Not the greatest start so far for BLC. They're going to need to put on a very good defense here if they want to win. Oh, it doesn't. I thought I'd automatically swap this. Shame. Okay. ENCORE on the offense now. Kleber going for a Taurus. And Raisin Lamp going for a decoy. An interesting choice. You don't usually see decoys first round. I wonder where he's going to decide to put this. A lean peek on stairs, likely to try and bait out some shots so they can think there's no one actually on roam, and they instead used a decoy to try to make it seem like that. However, 2 players coming in from downstairs. This might catch out Raisin Lamb. And 1 player on stairs and 2 players on lounge window. Flashbang going out does get Hunter. Players on window holding him back. However, Raisin Lamb needs to be careful for this stairs roam. He does seem to be aware. And now he's going to be able to take advantage of this. Oh, the timing there is crazy. He just barely walked around the corner. And it does look like they will be rotating to a B-site push. ENCORE is now rotating to the window, and Raisin Lamb might be able to take advantage of this. Only gets 1, but ooh, Froggy gets another pick. Ruby gets the refrag, but it's a 2v2 on site with 1 roaming on the other site. Impi is getting planted. Flicker gets 1, gets 2. However, he's not ready for the player from Con. That's 6-1 for ENCORE. That was a really close round there. Flicker was almost able to pull back that 1v3 clutch. However, he just wasn't ready for the player in Con. Maybe he didn't have enough ammo after killing the 2 other players. And now it's going to be tough for BLC. They're going to have to get 6 rounds consecutively if they want to win this match. Or map. Then they need to win 1 more map before they win the match. However, a lot of their players do seem to be doing a little bit better here. Skyscraper instead of Wall. Maybe Skyscraper is just a little bit better of a map for this team. One roam upstairs on the side of BLC with 1 player playing aggro in bathrooms. Very aggro. Hunter is holding angles on window even. Is he ready for the player swinging in? That's EMP down. First pick for BLC, and now his teammate has come to help him. Nade going out, but he could be picked out from window. Hunter gets Froggies. That's a 2K now. However, jump out. Oh, Free TKs himself, but does end up getting the person that jumped out. And now it's a 4v2 in the favor of BLC. This is the first time we've actually seen them in the lead. And this is a very good opportunity for BLC. If they can win this round, then that's going to be a very good economy advantage in their favor. Brax does seem to be aware of the player in bathroom, gets one of them, and now last guy's on window and he knows it. Furry takes out Brax, takes out Flicker. This is looking more and more possible by the moment. A 1v2. Clearing every single corner before getting the wall blown. And that site opened up. He does have EMP. And he's going to get the other wall. And then rotate sites. BLC is not ready for this. Okay, well, he is. Roam in hallway. Is he going to be ready? Hunter manages to get his feet. One of the better angles in Skyscraper, in my opinion. But good job there from Hunter, managing to get his feet before, who was it? Furry could use the stim and get back the HP he lost in the first gunfight. And now things are looking a little bit more winnable for BLC. Granted, they do lose their losing bonus. Or, no, I think it resets after swap. Anyway, ENCORE does still have 2 rifles and 3 SMGs. However, BLC is also able to get a similar loadout. Although Flicker is going for a Knut, interestingly enough, likely going for a server sold. Unless I'm wrong. That is usually what players do when they do get a Knut. However, Plebber is downstairs, maybe trying to catch out a player on stairs roam. It is a relatively common hold. However, a very slow push coming in here from radio. Door blocker is gone, and hopefully BLC recognized that. However, Hunter does get the roam on stairs, being Plebber. Utility going out, just trying to deny the swing. Proxy giving away locations, and BLC is stacked up on A site, and are they going to be ready for this rotate onto B? Raisin Lamb gets one, Hunter gets another, Flicker takes out one, however, Flicker does go down. Brax is here on the other site. They know EMP is there, they've pinged it, and now their defense is switching accordingly. However, Froggies goes down to Raisin Lamb in radio. BLC is finally coming back after, I'm pretty sure it was 5 unanswered rounds. And this is good. They're going to have a lot of money to buy utility and weapons. I already see Vezin, Barui, and 2 Aurils. And ENCORE is going to struggle a little bit. They have Auril, Cadillo, and a few SMGs. This is going to be an uphill battle for ENCORE, especially since BLC also has all the utility they need. Statics, door blockers, trips likely somewhere in hallway. No, I don't see the trips, never mind. Ignore me. Does look like they will have a roam over here in broadcast. However, Plebber is going again for the downstairs roam upstairs. With a person going bathroom, maybe? This is interesting. No, they are going radio. They may be able to catch out Flicker here on the roam. However, a lot of flashbangs going in lounge, and they're able to take space thanks to that. playing together, and Hunter is playing very aggro here on the door. He could be caught out. ENCORE is able to take control of some of hallway. However, they do have to be careful of the roam. Froggies is holding it. However, he could look away. Flicker does get the pick. Now they know that there's a roam and they have to be careful. Hunter swings out, but just a little bit too soon. Player on door, stopping this push from proceeding too quickly. And this is going to be rough. Raisin Lamb swings out, but is instantly refragged. Ruby is playing very close on this wall. However, they're not playing too aggressive. Do they? Oh, Jimmy's in sight. They don't know it. Ruby gets the pick. Ruby with the 2K. Where's Brax? He needs to support his teammate. Other site. EMP is down. However, they don't know that, and Ruby gets the pick. That's a 3K there from Ruby. BLC is finally starting to pull it back. They were able to take advantage of their gun and utility advantage. Yeah, that's kind of what it's called. And they were able to easily pick off the players, especially that roam. The roam got the pick and applied just enough pressure to cause ENCORE to stress a tiny bit. And then those extra shots coming from the hallway doorway, that was able to split them up just enough that they were able to get enough picks on their own. Does look like they will have a roam upstairs, likely going to green screen room maybe? No, hallway on the box. An interesting roam choice. I haven't seen this before. We'll see if it pays off for BLC. Player going in lounge. Several of them, 3, 4. Drone coming out upstairs. They'll clear the roam. However, they didn't check deep enough for the roam. Door blocker gone on A site. Flashbangs going in. Film on the wall. And there's 2 roams over here in lobby. Oh, that's all 3 players on site. A huge mistake on the side of BLC. They weren't able to hold site long enough for their roams to work. Hunter getting a nice pick there, too. However, Hunter and Raisin Lamb going down. That's 7-4 for BLC. A little bit closer there on second map. However, ENCORE was able to get the picks and take site too quick for BLC to respond. Final score is coming up for you guys. I wonder if the players are going to decide to do a third map. It does look like that will be our last map. Some of the players are starting to file out, so I may be casting another match. I'm sorry, LFT versus Storm Battalion, I believe it was. I'm not sure. I can ask Catloof. I'm also going to send this stream link to Lion. Anyway, that's going to be the end of the stream for now. There may be another one. Just keep an eye out for it.